Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. And the weather is fantastic today. It puts a big smile on my face. You know what? And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. I've been kind of wanting to make this message for a while. And there is a lot that we can do to help other people in recovery and out of recovery, but we have to have boundaries, right? We can't let other people or other things or circumstances or happenings to affect our recovery, because once that happens, then we're opening the door for more, and we don't want to do that. We don't trying the same thing expecting a different result, but we got the same old thing because we didn't know, right? We hadn't taught ourselves or been taught yet or had that faith to rely on a power greater than us to see us through. And man, it can be hard to put in place boundaries in our recovery. But when we do, we really see the dividends fairly quickly, because our lives will improve the better we hold true to our boundaries and that sort of thing. So, I got into motorcycling around 2000. I had my first motorcycle in 2006, 2007, which was a GSXR. It was a crotch rocket, and I had ridden dirt bikes and stuff like that in the past. But this bike was a crotch rocket, and that's what I learned on, and a little sporty. And then I got the 1200 that I have now, and I got that in 2020. So I've had that bike for 5 years, I think 5 full seasons now. I've got 45,000 miles on it, and this season I had 13,500 miles. I was pretty proud of that. That's a lot of miles on the season, but I also went to 13 different states, hit up 17 to 20 different dealerships. I had 7 different riding challenges that I completed through Harley Davidson, and so it goes on and on. I go deep. It's a lifestyle for me. It's not a hobby anymore. I do it to stay alive, to stay in recovery. And the people that I meet in the motorcycle community are phenomenal. They're like no other group of people, and I would say that some of the most loyal, some of the most dedicated, hardworking, consistent, trustworthy, loyal people I have met in the community of motorcycling. And it doesn't matter if you're on a Honda or a Harley, or Harley or a Honda. It doesn't matter, as long as you're out on 2 wheels and you're enjoying the feel that it brings, because it is a different feel to ride out on a road into the sun, nice weather, you're feeling good. It's like an escape, and it's an amazing thing. And there are going to be times when we are challenged, where we're going to be character building, skill building, ability building, because we're going to come into circumstances and situations into our riding career that maybe we haven't experienced yet, but we rely on our skills, right? Our abilities, the past. We rely on what we know to get us through today to get to where we need to be, right? Amen. So when we do that, we're gonna come into the fold, and we're gonna meet people. And I can tell you this: not everybody in the community is gonna be somebody that you're gonna want to hang out with. I have not had any bad experiences with anybody in any clubs. I haven't had any bad experiences with any one percenters. I respect the hell out of all the one percenters in our area. I kind of know a little bit more about that lifestyle now, and I guess maybe before I didn't, and it was a little bit more green. But now I kind of get it. I understand how the there's nuances, and there's unwritten rules, and there's things that you do and you don't do in this community, and I've learned that. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was, I befriended a person in the community a couple years ago. I think it was 2022 when I first got reacquainted with this person. And this person had come up to me after I joined the HOG group, which is a Harley owners group. And I joined a local chapter, and I thought I was somebody. I got my road captain tag, and I got my this, and I got all my patches on the back. I filled up my whole vest in like a couple years, and whatever. I was in it, and I consumed with that, and I really thought I was going places. And I think this person kind of cued in on that and knew how green and naive I was. And so this person came to the dealership on a Saturday and befriended me, and I actually knew this person as an acquaintance from junior high, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. Yeah, you look good. How you doing? You working? You living? You in recovery? And all the above. He's working. He was in recovery. He has a faith. He believes in God. He started coming on my YouTube channel, and he began to integrate himself into my life. And slowly but surely, I started seeing some pretty alarming signs. One time, this person asked if we could fix his motorcycle. His chopper had broke, and I said, sure, man, bring it over, we'll take care of it. It was a foot peg, it needed to be drilled out. He lived in an apartment, he didn't have any tools, he didn't have basically anything, and I don't know what the circumstances in his life were. I'm not really asking a whole lot. I help anybody, I help everybody. That's just the way it is. And sometimes you get burned, but you learn. So it's not really a failure. It's just a mistake. We got to watch and have boundaries. So this person came over. We fixed his motorcycle. And around that same time, he kept trying to get me to go out on this ride with him up to Mille Lacs. And I think something got in the way the one time. And then the other time I was like, just not feeling right. So he came on a ride with us down to St. Paul for a brother who had died on his motorcycle. And I went down there, I think, with Brad, Sean, and Natalie, and a few other people, and he tagged along. And I noticed that his eyes were really glassy, and they were really bloodshot. And anybody who knows me knows that I ride sober. I practice what I preach and preach what I practice. That's what I do, right? And so I was a little alarmed at this. I was like, I don't know if we should be riding with this person. Well, at that same event, he tried to get me to leave and come back up to the cities with him alone. And I just thought, man, I am not riding next to this guy if he's that intoxicated, right? Because I could tell. I'm not dumb. I'm not my first rodeo. I used to do the same things that he was doing. And didn't think anybody knew, but we know, and we can tell, and we can sense it. And so he left, and a couple weeks later, we fixed his chopper. He came over, we fixed his chopper. I gave him a sweatshirt. I gave him some Harley riding gloves, and I gave him some gas money. And I actually bought the parts and pieces that we needed to fix his chopper. And I felt bad. He was riding around with like a flannel. He had no t-shirt, nothing on underneath it. It was just flapping in the wind, and it was springtime, so it was 50, 60 degrees, and he's riding around in just a flannel. And I'm like, here, you can have one of my sweatshirts that I got. And I gave him those things, and we did this other memorial ride. And then a few weeks later, and a couple months later, he asked me if I wanted to go lead this ride with him, like 5 or 6 of his other buddies and his dad. And I initially said yes. So during this same time, you guys, I was getting messages on my phone. I was out on a hog run one Saturday, and I got a message on my phone saying that one of my friends that I had just gotten to know, Chris Powman, had been killed in a motorcycle accident. I got that message on my phone from a random number. That was what started this whole thing. Is that I got a message on there saying that my friend Chris Powman had died, and I, as naive as I was, I had never gotten a message like that before, and I didn't know the number, so I was very emotional. I thought that was real, and although I didn't know Chris Powman all that well at that point. I had only known him for about a year because I went to the Monty Bash and was just kind of hanging out. But it affected me. I reached out to some of the peripheral people that we know, and they happened to be riding that day too. So I didn't get an answer back from anybody to see if Chris was alive or not. And then of course he was alive and well. It really affected me. So after that initial message, I started getting more and more messages. Like, it became consistent. Like, it would be, hey, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt your dog. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to throw something in your yard and your dog is going to die. Poison. I'm going to hurt you and your kids. I'm going to hurt your wife. I'm going to hurt your son as he's walking the dog. And then it would be, hey, nobody cares about your recovery. You're a loser. Stop doing what you're doing. Just the whole thing. I got them all, and they were all from anonymous numbers, and I didn't know they were all from different numbers and anonymous numbers, and I didn't know what to think. I had never been cyberbullied in a way, I guess. I guess that's what they call it, catfishing and cyberbullying, and it's a real problem in our community because these people do it expecting that they're not going to get caught, but what happens is every time you sign up for one of these app generators, these anonymous numbers, you have to give them an email, and that email is going to give them an IP address. The IP address is going to come back to the name, number, address of whoever signed up for that. So somewhere along the line, information is given, and people can find that out. Well, after a while, the messages were just involving me, right? It was involving me, my dog, just stupid stuff, but it got deeper, right? Once it started involving my wife and my kids, because I would get these messages, because I would post when I was going on a certain ride, or I always posted when I was going and what I was doing, because I'd always invite people to come with, and that's just how I was and am, right? I want to spread the fun. So this person would wait until I was away from home, and a good hour, hour and a half, 2 hours away on a 200, 300-mile bike ride, and then he would start with the messages. Hey, I'm driving by your house and I see your kid walking your dog. I'm gonna throw something up in the yard and your dog's gonna die. So I had no choice but to call home and be like, hey, Marissa, my wife. I was like, this is what's going on, and she didn't take it as seriously as I did, because I was the one getting the messages every day for a couple months up until that point, 6 months. And I had no idea who was sending these messages. I had no idea. And in that same time, this person that I was helping, I was continuing to ride with, I was continuing to do things in group settings, right? I would try not to be alone with this person. So after a while, my wife and I were like, this is getting serious. Like, we had to get we got cameras on every corner of the house. We ended up doing a bunch of other stuff that helped us know what was happening on the property, and it was super stressful. It caused me a lot of stress. I would go off the deep end, receiving threats to me and my family, because I didn't know if they were real. I didn't know who was sending them. I didn't know if I had made a one percenter mad. I didn't know if I had made somebody in the criminal world mad. I had no idea if it was somebody from my past, somebody from my present. I didn't know what was going on, but this person progressively got worse and worse. He showed up one day and he had a tattoo on his face, and then the next time I saw him, he had tattoos on the side of his face, and then he had tattoos on his neck. And so I could, in his behavior and his actions and all that were just like out of bounds, like totally out of bounds. Like some of the stuff he would post, and I ended up getting friends. I was friends with him on Facebook, so he had access to all my friends and all my family. So anyways, fast forward, my wife contacted the police. An investigator was assigned to the case. So I had to submit all the emails, all the calls, all the texts, everything that I had for evidence. And I gave it to them. And now, mind you, I was still getting messages weekly from this person from different numbers, and I had no idea. I would get the number, I would read it, I would block the number and save the message. But when you get a text message on your phone, you're gonna read it, right? There's no you can't delete something before you see it. You read your message and you say, oh, it's one of them messages, and then you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, man, it's just getting insane, right? So I would put them in a file, and we sent them off. Well, a couple months later, the cops called me, okay? The cops called me. 2 months later, a month later, the cop called me while I was out on a ride and asked me if I knew, do you know any of these people? And he gave me 4 names. I said, I know 2 of the 4 people. And I said, the one person that you said I'm actually friends with, and that person is actually in my circle right now. And they said, okay, well, that's the person who's sending you the messages. And I was astonished. I had no idea. I had no clue that this person that I was helping, was giving things to, was giving money to, was giving sweatshirts, leather gloves, money. I mean, time. I was helping this person in his recovery. I wasn't his sponsor, but I was there for him when he needed it. We talk on the phone all the time. And he gave me that name, and I was just astonished. I was taken aback. But it all started to make sense, because I saw the signs of this person going downhill fast. And as many times as this person tried to get me alone with him, what happened was, what made him start sending these messages is the ride that he wanted me to lead with like 4 or 5 of his other friends and his dad. I had never met his dad before, and I didn't know any of the 5 people that he said he wanted to bring. That was a red flag to me. I'm not going to go on a ride with somebody who I see is mentally and substance-wise out of control with 5 other 6 other people that I don't know up to his house, right? I said that I would lead the ride, but then I backed out and said, no, I don't want to lead that ride anymore. In fact, I don't even want to go anymore. And that really made him upset. So when I said no to him, inadvertently, I made him so mad that he started harassing me, and I didn't know that it was him doing that, because after that point that I said no, he was kind of standoffish with me. He wasn't as nice, and I just figured, he was mad or whatever. But that's what started all that. So he started harassing me, sending me the messages, and all the messages and the calls and the texts and the emails and all that in hand. Hennepin County charged him with, I think it was, digitally harassing and death threats or something like that. Well, anyways, he got probation. He got 6 months probation. And then I find out that this person got off probation in September, because we didn't keep in contact with the court, and the court didn't keep in contact with us. We didn't really want to deal with that, I guess. Well, I found out he got off in September, and then he got into a 2-car severely drunk driving in Monticello. He got into a really nasty accident this last couple weeks ago in Monticello off 25 and 7th Street, I think, where the Holiday is and the KFC. He was going 70 there, and he smashed into a teenager and then a guy our age. And the guy our age is still in the hospital in intensive care, I think. And then the other guy, the teen, he was okay. Tyler had pissed himself. He was drunk. He admitted all of that. And then he subsequently went, now he's in Wright County Jail facing charges. And I think that the charges are pretty serious. He's looking at up to 5 years on each charge. Probably won't get that. But yeah, so I inadvertently let somebody into my life by way of just being nice and trying to be helpful, that really ended up creating a huge stressor and a huge conflict in my life. And although right now I do feel a little bit of peace knowing that he's locked up, there is not much peace that I can get knowing all the stuff that he said and all the things that he really said some pretty nasty things. And those planted seeds, unfortunately, in my life that really made me kind of like go back a little bit, and I started double guessing everything in my life. I started assuming that good people were bad and that bad people were good, and I just got I had a mixed bag of feelings, and I started unfriending people because I thought that they were out to get me, and I became really paranoid. So this person knew what they were doing, right? They knew the kind of feelings that they were trying to generate. And honestly, unfortunately, I have to admit that it did work. Cyberbullying is it's a very bad thing. And so with that being said, my friends, with sharing that, we have to have boundaries. We have to, when we see things that might pop up red flags in our minds, we really gotta be diligent and watch who we hang out with, who we surround ourselves with. And I know calling the cops and doing all that is not favorable in the motorcycle community. And honestly, that wouldn't have happened had he not involved my wife and my children. If he would have been just kept harassing me and kept harassing my dog or whatever, saying that he was going to kill us, I probably wouldn't have even brought it to my wife. But the fact that she was involved now and that my kids were involved, and I have to add another thing to this, is that last year in November, while this was all going on, my dog got killed. So I was pretty distraught. I thought that Tyler, the person who had been harassing me, I wasn't going to say his name, but Tyler Scott Wild, man, that's hard to think about. Thinking about Zoe getting killed is really hard. She had gotten off her leash and was running around, and there was a car that was going by, and the car hit her. And I thought for sure that Tyler had coordinated it. I thought that for sure they were waiting around the corner until my dog got loose, and then they drove by and would kill him, right? And that's totally unreasonable, right? I'm sure that they probably weren't waiting for my dog to get loose and hit her and kill her, but I felt like we had spoken it into existence. I felt like enough people had talked about it, enough people had, he had threatened me, your dog's gonna die, and I just felt like it just got spoken to existence, and that's why Zoe had gotten taken from me. So I fell into a pretty deep depression after that, and it took me a little while to get out of it, and I tried different coping mechanisms, and I tried different things to try to get myself realigned with the person I was before, but it didn't happen because I was pretty damaged. That hurt a lot, and I thought for some reason, for sure, Tyler had he had something to do with my dog dying, and I know that's unreasonable and not really, planted in facts or reality, but that's what cyberbullying does. That's what allowing other people to get into our heads does. And that's what not having boundaries does. So when we talk about boundaries, we talk about putting them in place before something like this happens, hopefully. But a lot of times something will have to happen for us to put into place a boundary. And those boundaries get implemented. They get implemented in a way that you don't have to tell everybody. You don't have to say, hey, I'm putting a boundary into place. You just subtly, slowly, surely put something in place that allows you the space, right? A buffer from you and that other person and their behavior, because a lot of what other people will do and do all that, it'll affect us, right? So we have to be careful. So that's kind of where I've been in the last couple of years. This person has still been sending me messages. Obviously he's in jail now, but I was still getting messages on my YouTube channel, on Facebook, and I knew they were from him because they all have the same kind of vein. He's very inappropriate, very childlike, immature, just toddler like, and all this, just totally inappropriate stuff, talking about buttholes, and I just, it really shows me that this person has been through some trauma and some drama and some things in life that might involve all the things that he's spewing out, because there's no way that any person in their right mind would go around saying these things or threatening people with the kind of threats that he was saying. It just was totally thought up, and totally just fantastical, right? Like, this person is obviously intoxicated on something to think of these things, because nobody in their right mind is going to sit around and think about these things and impose this on other people. So our case with him, or whatever case that happened with him, is done. It's in the books. So that's why I'm coming out and I'm talking about this today, is because I don't have any reason not to share with you guys. And a lot of you guys, I had to keep quiet for a couple years. I had to not say anything about this. I had to really be hush hush. I made a couple videos and then I would delete them because somebody would say, hey, if you're in an ongoing court case with this person, don't say anything. And so I didn't. I wanted to keep it quiet. But now I'm coming out and I'm telling you guys that, yeah, this person really wreaked havoc in my life, and I hope that someday they are able to receive what they need to receive in order to be, righted. Karma, right? They're going to get theirs, for sure. You have the day you deserve every day when you act like that. And he ended up in jail, almost killing somebody for drunk driving. So that's how it goes. You guys, I share this because I want other people to be aware, and awareness, I think, is one of the biggest tools that we have in our life, especially in recovery, because if you don't know, you don't know, and you see something, say something, right? It might help somebody else out there. So although I don't like airing and broadcasting all my dirty laundry, I felt like this is the one component that maybe some of you guys were kind of following along with the last couple of years and saw me and heard me kind of subtly say things about it. But this is what's been going on. It's been really hard to walk around and not look over my shoulder. And so we do what we can to put in security into place, and we do what we can to stay diligent and vigilant about who we're around and what's around. But I'm not with my kids all day every day, so I worry about them and my wife. But hey, one day at a time. I don't fear anybody. If whatever's going to happen is going to happen, I can stand my own. And usually 9 out of 10 times when you see me out in the world, I'm prepared. I'm not totally just willing to go down without a fight. So I'm prepared. Let's just say that. And I have ways and means of protecting myself. So, hey, you guys, I love you. Be well out there. 25 minutes is a little bit long of a message, so I'll try to edit this down for you guys. Edit it down to a more manageable chunk. But I love you guys. God bless you. Be well. Have a safe Friday. We'll see ya.